Hey everybody, welcome to the Den. I got Evren Arsal from Total Soccer, played at West Point, great soccer leader, coach, mentor here in the Bucks County, Philadelphia area. Everyone knows him, loves him. Evren, welcome so much to the show. Thank you for being here on the Den.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, a few questions for you. How this impacted you?
Oh man. Well, number one, the world, but specifically my business, the soccer training business, just basically shut off like a faucet. It just one day it was there, and one day it's just not there. So just turned off completely.
Talk to us about that. Are people still reaching out to you? I know you're doing some things now. We'll get into that,
Yeah.
but the last 3 months,
The last 3 months have been difficult, but at the same time, we need to keep moving forward. So we didn't have time to sit back and just and take a nap for 3 months. So we took it as an opportunity to say, okay, these are the new circumstances. These are things we preach when we coach players, that we can't call a timeout in soccer. We can't coach the kids all the time. So we've got to make adjustments on the fly, and we had to make a lot of adjustments on the fly.
What type of adjustments did you make, Evren? Not to cut you off. Let's go, baby. Let's talk about game time adjustments. Come on, let's talk about it.
So we had to give people the content they were looking for. So we're stuck at home, backyards, driveways. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're doing Zoom sessions. We're giving people the content to help coach themselves so they're not missing a beat during this down period.
Are people interacting with it? Are they not?
I think at first it was a bit of a novelty. So I think initially we had a lot of good feedback and we were getting a lot of interest. And I think honestly it wore down on people, that the novelty wore off. The 2 weeks of training on your own was finished and people got tired of it. So now people are ready to go. People want to get back to it, get into the gym, start sweating, start working hard again. So I think we're ready to take on a lot of people and do a great job with it.
So did you get PPP money? Did it help you out? Your bank, you're with PNC Bank from
yeah,
so did they help you out? What happened there?
No, so the PPP was a tough go at first. PNC, they didn't have that personal relationship with me that was really necessary to get through with it. So it wasn't actually until I spoke with you and you put me on to Centric Bank, and they were calling me, texting me, helping me with.
Chris is a great guy, isn't
Unbelievable effort they put into me.
Their president, Patty,
Yeah.
she should win Leader of the Year this year,
Absolutely.
in my opinion, but that's besides the point. It's a whole other conversation we'll have.
So they really held my hand through it and made sure that all my stuff was spot on, and that was helpful, and it got us through a pretty tough period.
Yeah, let's talk about that, right? Here you are, small business, you're shut down for 90 days. Really, I'm assuming 10%, 20% of your revenue.
Correct, yep.
And that was probably more donations of people saying, here, I'll pay you, sign up when you're right. The hardest time in your 12 years of business?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you think about quitting?
No, it's just what I think about is the safety of my family and my kids and making sure that there's food on the table. So that's always in the back of my mind. But coaching and my business, it's part of me. So really, I just thought of how are we going to make it work? What's the next move?
How are the community been to you? I know people are calling you to come back. Are you open? Are you not open? You're in the yellow now. Talk to me.
Right. So people they're anxious to get back to training, and so we're trying to be respectful of what's in front of us and not spreading this virus more than it needs to be. So we're actually sending trainers to people's homes where they don't need to go out and about and train. So and we can keep a social distance there. Soccer is a very non-invasive type of sport, so we can keep our distance, we can wear face masks, and we can still train. So we're actually doing private lessons, group lessons, and camps at people's homes, and it seems to be working pretty well.
You had an amazing summer camp last year. Camps are open again. Are you planning on opening during the summer for camps?
We'll do what our local government allows us to do. So a lot of our camps are run through local municipalities and their parks and recs departments. Or if they give us the green light to go, we're going. So that's our goal.
I've been talking about mental illness a lot, with children. It's a real thing. It's real. It's as real as it gets. People want to say it's for the weak. That's bullshit. It's as real as it gets. Mental illness is a problem. Do you think kids not being able to play organized sports, I'll keep it to soccer because that's what you love.
Sure.
Do you think it's going to impact kids mentally?
Look, if you don't have a way to compete and to work on yourself, and it's you can only stay home for so long. So you can only have that sibling rivalry for so long before something has to give. So, yeah, I think if this goes on too much longer, it will have a lasting impact.
Do you think sports are going to be changed forever after this?
Forever's a long time. I think this fall season will be certainly a different one, and I think we'll slowly get back into the rhythm of life. I do.
Do you think we'll have a fall season?
I'm optimistic that we'll have a fall season. Yes.
What's your gut tell you?
My gut's telling me that things are moving the right direction, and my gut's telling me that we'll have a different looking fall season. We'll be out there, and yeah, there might not be any high fives, there might not be any shared benches, but I think we'll find a way.
You were on pace to have a record year this year before all this. You were doing great. Last year was a great year for you. You were growing. What do you contribute that to? Besides one SEO, of course.
Well, your help's been absolutely pivotal to it. But I think what we're seeing is in sports, what the clubs and what teams are providing is great. But to get ahead, to get that edge, you need more. You need to work on yourself as an individual. And what we're learning now is doing it completely on your own in the driveway is just not going to cut it. So having a space where you can work on yourself as an individual, but also compete with some others. I think it's just the way sports are going, especially soccer. It's getting cutthroat, and to have a place like ours to come in and get that professional training, it's paramount.
So let's just talk about this, right? And the people that know me know I always ask the tough questions. This is going to be the toughest question I ask you, right? You had a reputation when I met you of you'd be too easy on some kids at some times. I mean, you talked about that, and you definitely changed your approach over the 5+ years I know you, because you started with LJ when he was 1 year old.
Yeah.
He was 1. Yeah, he's 7 now. So known you 5-6 years, and I said I don't want a day camp here.
Yeah.
And I seen you change your approach. Tell me what made you say, okay, I'm going to give you 2 type of styles for parents that just want your kids to have good coaching, training, and just more of, hey, I know my kid might never be a great athlete, so let's just go through the process and make them great individuals. And then you need one for someone like me, or I'd say my brothers, that want our kids pushed all the time to be the best they could be. Why is there they're 2 different coaching styles? Because they are totally 2 different unique coaching styles. Right now, can you talk about that?
Yeah, so it's experience, man. So as a young coach, you do what you knew, and you do what worked for you, and it's kind of a selfish attitude. And as you grow and you spend more time coaching, and you see, hey, there's more than one way to do this thing. So I really like to take the approach of we're meeting players where they are. So certain players need that nurture. They need to be coddled a little bit, and they need that positive praise. And other players, they need a good kick sometimes. They need to be pushed and motivated, and they need it. So players need different things, and different things make players tick. And it's our job to understand players on that personal level and to push those buttons to get the most out of them.
I mean, it's almost like being a therapist.
Sure.
Do you think children today are under more pressure to perform due to their parents more than ever than when we were kids?
Sure. I mean, there's some diluted expectations that sports are going to take us to a college scholarship, and parents living vicariously through players. So that stuff exists, and yeah, like I said, but the likelihood of you getting that D1 scholarship is, I don't even know if 1% is the right number to use.
I think it's less than that.
I think it's less than that. So I think everyone does need to take a deep breath and enjoy your child's youth sports experience. And Total Soccer isn't here to give scholarships and to get you to that. It's for you to, you're spending time traveling, going to tournaments over weekends. You want to get the most out of it. You want to score a lot of goals. You want to have fun and enjoy. And as soon as parents make that realization, they can take the stress out and actually enjoy, because your time's limited. You only have a few years, so make the most of it.
I've gotten to travel with LJ now, watching him. I mean, wrestling was our first sport, soccer's our second. And it doesn't matter to me what he does, but what you just said is the most compelling thing I say all the time to people is, doesn't matter if he wins or loses, they're the happiest in the pool playing with their friends. They're just happy running around the hotel. Mm-hmm. That's what they're going to remember. They're not going to remember who they beat that day. And yeah, sometimes LJ will bring up, hey, Dad, remember I wrestled that kid or whatever? But it's so irrelevant to the good times they had. Yeah. I think that's where sports is really missing it.
Absolutely. There's players that they're moving from this team to that team, and for you're missing the point. You should be developing relationships, best friends. This is why you play sports, is for that brotherhood or sisterhood, and for the lessons, not to win the most trophies.
How does total soccer start rebuilding? You're a businessman. You had your best years the last 2 years. This has to be a punch in the gut, an open hand slap, whatever you want to call it. How do you rebuild, Evren?
I'm optimistic, and I think what people have had to do over the last few months is forget about team sports for a minute and worry about the individual in the driveway, in the backyard, and that's what we do. So I feel like this has been an education on, hey, my player likes to work on themselves, and and here's a space, Total Soccer, that does it as a full-time gig. So I think people have maybe a new found respect and understanding of what individual training is, and if you're going to do it, why not do it with the best?
What advice would you give? You played D1 soccer. Yeah. You're a great athlete. You're a great leader in the community. I couldn't say enough words for you. I respect you tremendously. What would you say to those parents out there that are putting so much pressure on their kids right now after going through this whole pandemic to say, what do you say to those parents? Like, what would you say? They're putting so much pressure on their kids.
So let's say our goal is to make our players so great. Well, they all have something in common, and that thing they have in common is passion. So you're not gonna get that passion out of a kid if you're dragging him to training and you're dragging him here. So if we all know that passion is the thing that drives the Messis, Ronaldos of the world, then that's the thing that we need to instill into all of our players. So what's going to create that passion? Let them take the lead a little bit. Put things in front of them that they can hang on to, and that they let them lead you to training. Let them be the first one in the car, to practice. So get your kids passionate about playing. Get them tickets to the next Union game. Make them a fan, and with that passion, they're gonna go play in the backyard with them. Go enjoy the game with them, and if your kid becomes passionate about it, then sky's the limit.
I want to tell you a personal story, and you changed my life, about my coaching style. When you know me, when you met me, people say I'm intense.
Right.
All right.
I don't know how they get that idea, but somehow.
But like you always say, intense in a good way. It's. I'm going to tell you a funny story. When you started talking, and I listened to you. I'm a true believer in that you listen to people that know their craft, and when you produced a lot of winners. And I watched a lot of coaching. I've watched a lot of people coach. And I love being involved in my boys' sports.
Yeah.
About 3 years ago, I read an article online, and it was called The Backseat Dad, if you know what I'm talking about. When you bring a kid home and you start yelling at him in the back seat. And I wish I could find the article because I browsed the internet. And I remember LJ was probably 4 at the time, and he was with you. And when we just got done playing the Council Rock game, and LJ, as you know, is one of the better kids. Not the best kid all the time, but he's one of the better kids. And he didn't have a great game. And I remember coming home, and I was talking to him. I was like, you should have did this. 4 years old, right? And I'm driving home saying this. My wife's in the car, and thinking. And about 2 days later, article pops up, and father was driving home with his son. And I forget what sport it was. I think it was baseball.
Right.
And son was in junior high. And the father kept lecturing the son, telling him what he should have done. Kid went home and killed himself.
Oh, my God.
And the father said, the worst thing you could ever do is coach your kid after a win or a loss.
Sure.
All you do is say, nice job, move on. And ever since, and you told me the same thing. You truly believe, you say giving direction during the game, coaching right during practice is great, but after the game is played, let it end, let it simmer, whatever that game is, and come back tomorrow and talk about it.
Sure.
Can you talk about that? Because I've taken that advice.
Yeah.
Whether LJ wins or loses, no matter what, after reading that letter, talking to you, and going through that. Can you explain why it's so important to wait, hesitate, and come back and communicate?
Yeah, number one, as a player, you need time to assess yourself, and you need time to digest what you just did, and to have it spoon fed to you takes that process away from them. So I as a business person, as a student, as any walk of life, you need that opportunity to have an action and then be able to process what you did. And so for players, you need that time, and you don't want to do it for them. You want them to develop that skill in, here's what I did well, here's what I didn't do well. let that simmer, let that sink in. And for a parent, especially for a young kid, yeah, the only conversation should be, where are we getting ice cream? That's the kind of backseat conversation. So, yeah, and at the end of the day, you're dad, and you're not the coach necessarily. So, and they're gonna, even if you are in that coaching role, I coach my son, but I don't try not to mix the lines up. I'm dad first, and that being said, we've got to be nurturing at that moment. Yeah, and then when the next training session comes, that's the appropriate time to say, look, here's what we need to be doing, and it's a positive approach, not because what can you do at that point? The game's over. There's nothing, it can't go back in time. So it's always about what's next, looking forward, let's review. But yeah, I mean, and it goes back to, let's be passionate about our kids and our play, and let's enjoy the limited time that we have with it.
Everyone, thank you for watching. Amazing job. Amazing what you do. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, it's really an honor. I really appreciate it. It's just actually nice to get out and talking to another adult that's outside of my household. So it's been a blast, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks so much, brother.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
appreciate it.